Hi everybody, my name is Kerri Mubarak and I am at wooingnature.life. Welcome to the channel and welcome to June Gemini reading for 2019. I have some interesting things for you. Gemini, this is your season, so we definitely want to spend a little time with you to try to help you understand what's happening in the month of June and how the astrology and in this case the I Ching can help guide you throughout the month. So before we get started, I'll just let you know again, I am at wooingnature.life. I do offer readings of all kinds, including I Ching and astrological readings. So if you want to get a little more in depth into what's happening with your astrological chart, you just need your birth time, birth date, and then of course birth location, and we can get a little deeper into the connection if we can. But other than that, this is a very general read for those people who are sun sign Geminis. You can also refer to this if you are a Gemini moon or Gemini rising, or if you just want to check out where things are moving through Gemini. So right now we have the full moon, the new moon is going into Gemini on the 3rd. So the top part of the month is definitely all about you. Mercury, Sun, and the moon are all floating around in your first house. So first house is getting a lot of activation, and then toward the middle of the month, and then from the middle to the end of the month when the full moon comes in, then you'll be getting a lot more activity in your 7th house. So 1st and 7th house is the focus for June. 1st house is the house of self and also the house of ego. The 7th house is where we start making our connections with other people, either through marriage or through some kind of contractual agreement where there is a commitment of some sort. So where you are committed to other people. So self and then commitments with others are what we're looking at. If there's a little extra noise, it's because I have a puppy running loose around me. There you go. All right, so first off, I'm going to get into the astrology, and then we're going to take a turn, and I'm going to be reading from the I Ching. I was definitely feeling Gemini's duality this month, so I decided to read from the I Ching cards by Holitska. Just a sidebar to let you know, originally, or in the tradition of I Ching was done with yarrow sticks, the counting yarrow sticks, and then we advanced to coins, and then now with the technology of paper, we have the I Ching card. So there's a little bit different way to go about the divination for each, but each of them, what I found, are effective. So the I Ching cards I chose because literally you choose 2 cards, and because of that whole duality thing, I thought that would be the best way to kind of approach this. But before we get into I Ching and before we get into the Holitska deck, we are going to talk a little bit about the astrology that is happening for the month of June. So I gave a lunar look at everyone this month. I'm looking more so at the moon than I am at anything else, looking at the full moon period or the new moon period at the beginning of the month, and then the full moon that comes somewhere in the middle of the month. If you want to know more specifics about what's happening with the moon, you can check back into this channel, and that's where I can let you know in more depth about what's happening with the moon in general. Of course, if you want to get your own personal reading, you can reach out to me at info@wooingnature.life, and I can dig a little deeper. All right, so without further ado, 1st and 7th house are being activated. The first part of the month, the new moon initiates the process of moving past the self. Ego is the focus for the new moon right now, specifically moving beyond the ego into where we are keeping more of a collective mind state. This kind of goes along also with the theme of Pluto during this time and Saturn, because Pluto and Saturn are also making some changes in our lives collectively that we need to pay attention to. Matter of fact, we don't need to pay attention to it. You're going to pay attention to it because Pluto and Saturn will make you do it. So the first part of the month, we're moving past the selfish selfish pride, selfish goals, selfish efforts, this me mentality that we've been operating in for quite some time. It's no longer going to work for you. It's no longer going to work for all of us. In fact, it's not working for all of us. Nothing wrong with appreciating the self. Nothing wrong with taking care of the self. And there's also nothing wrong with doing for you. But when we overindulge in self, then we throw ourselves off balance. And so again, with Gemini being a dualistic in nature anyway, we always look for ways that we can bridge those two sides so that there can be some level of balance for you. So personal accomplishments at this time are not really personal. If you are having some accomplishments, they're really for other people. So just remember that. It's not just about you. It's really about how you are affecting those around you. So whatever accomplishments you have gained at this point, they're just the jump off point for the next phase of lessons that you're going to be getting personally, that is going to elevate you, that is going to help you operate at a different frequency. And then those old lessons, and that's what accomplishment is, because when you accomplish something, you're finished. So you're finished with that set of lessons. And now the teachings from that, from what the teachings from that then become material for those people around you, those who are aspiring to do some of the things that you have already done, or for those who are looking to you for advice or for an example. That then becomes theirs. That becomes material for them to step up as well. Okay, so we're looking at higher level ideas. Specifically those that will incorporate and employ a group consciousness. Now, I know sometimes we get a little like, we don't want to get into the groupie thing. I'm not asking you to go and, I don't know, dive head deep into some kind of cult or something. No, it's not about that. You don't have to be a groupie type person at all. It's just to remember that we're all here together on the planet working together. And so we can't always be on our own trip. Sometimes we have to put other people in the back seat of the car. Sometimes we got to put some people in the hatch, and we got to go down that road together, because that process is going to teach us something really, really powerful in the end. So as you get to the middle part of the month, when the full moon comes in, there's going to be a shift in lunar focus. The focus is now not on self, because you've already kind of gone through that. Now you're going to be really super focused on the partnerships, close partnerships specifically. It could be marriage. It could be any kind of contractual agreement that you have with somebody. It could be your work situation, because many of us work off a contract. So anywhere where you have made a commitment. It could also be a project that you're working on where you are contractually bound to either another agency or another person in some kind of way. But wherever that sits for you, that is the seventh house, and that's the part that's going to be activated. So remember when I said all of that stuff about, remembering that whatever it is that you're learning and accomplishing is going to be for others. In the latter part of the month, you're going to be able to kind of practice what you preach. You're going to be able to apply those skills to maybe a one-on-one situation at first, before you then have to go and engage like maybe larger groups of people. If that's your thing, that may not be your thing. So your interactions with others on a partnership level reveal your highest level of purpose. So when you are with them and when you're engaging with them, I don't care if it's tense, I don't care if it's difficult to communicate, I don't care, whatever's happening there, it's happening for a reason. The main reason is to boost you up to the next level. It helps you to see what your real purpose is, and not just your purpose, but your highest purpose. So wherever you see that or wherever that's happening, just remember that's what's going on. So your personal efforts are not necessarily on the back burner. It's not like you're saying, oh, okay, well, never mind for me. I can't do what I wanted to do anyway because Kerri said that it ain't about me. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they're not going on the back burner. Just think that they're on the front burner, but the pot that you're boiling is for someone else to, I don't know, make the rice, or for somebody else to make some tea, or for somebody else who needs the tea to get some tea. Okay, hold on. There you go. So operating at your personal best creates a standard for your partnerships. You being at your highest self, and I'm not talking about your highest self that feeds your own personal ego. Your highest self is when you move beyond the ego into where you as a person, who you are, what you represent, and how you roll, then becomes a standard for other people. So folks are looking to you for an example. And all you have to do is just, I don't know, be present, operate in your highest self. I always recommend meditation. If you feel like you're off a little bit, meditation always will bring you back to center, and it'll also help you understand where you are. So you will be setting the pace. You'll be holding up the banner for others, and they'll be looking to you for some guidance and for some advice. But before you do all of that, make sure you get your personal straight. Make sure you get your personal back in balance. Okay? All right, so moving right along. Again, we are reading from the I Ching. I don't know if I said this already because I have been repeating this in other readings, but again, when you do the I Ching, sometimes the I Ching is done from yarrow sticks, counting yarrow sticks, or tossing coins, but this is the Holistic I Ching deck, which I love very much. The images are very revealing, as well as the message in the card. It's a really great deck. So this is a little bit different way of interpreting the I Ching. What Holistic recommends is that you pull the first card, and then after you pull the first card, you go ahead and pull a second card that represents the changes. So for those of you who are familiar with I Ching, you guys will know that that's not like how the coins are done, but that's the way the cards are done. And so because it employs the use of two cards, and we're in that Gemini duality, I just felt like it would be completely appropriate to do that. So I'm sorry if I repeated that at the beginning, but I didn't know if I did, so I wanted to make sure that I let you know how the deck is being used. So the first card that I pulled for you is number 64. It corresponds to a particular passage in the Book of Changes, which is what I Ching means, Book of Changes. And then the second card is 54, and 54 lets us know what changing lines we need to read in the passage. So first I'm going to read the general passage, and then I'm going to go back and look at the changing lines, and that should give you a little bit deeper connection to the reading and to what else is happening this month. Okay, this sign, so the number 64, which is this card, represents the passage before fulfillment. All right, so this to me indicates that this is the period right before you are fulfilling some goals or fulfilling some dreams or some aspirations that you may have for yourself. So I'm going to read that passage for you. It says, this sign can be compared to springtime. That's your time, Gemini, which leads to the fertile summer after the tempering cold of winter. All right, so you may have been through some things in the winter, but now the trees are budding, but it's not quite summer yet, so we're getting there. It is a time as difficult as it is beautiful. Harmony reigns, life flourishes, and prospers only after its completion. Okay? You need to draw upon all your strength to cope with the task of this nature. It would be presumptuous to expect a sudden solution to all problems in just one roll of the dice. So none of this is happening like overnight. You may want the changes that you're looking for to happen overnight, but we have some steps before we get there. It's not quite summer yet. Summer being a metaphor for a completion of a cycle. So spring kind of feels like, hey, it's new and it's happy and now we can like move on. Not quite yet. There's still some things that are happening. So you are in the springtime of your life, You're in the spring of life right now, and we are literally in spring too. But just remember that, there's some things that have to be done. Let's see, I read that part already. The ground is still shaking under you. You must carefully create a foundation enabling you to bear the load. And that's part of what this lunar cycle is helping you do too, is get a firm foundation under you. Because if you're operating from the strictly from the ego, then what's going to happen is it'll start to tell on you later. Like in the decisions you make, it won't manifest properly if you have done it for selfish reasons, for example. Okay. You are heading for an all-encompassing renewal in life. This departure for new shores is accompanied by anxious expectation and new hope. So there is hope here. There is promise here. There is luck for you. All right, line 1, you need to leave the confusion quickly behind you and produce tangible results. However, you still lack sufficient perspective, and if you avoid acting rashly, your chances increase a little more each day as each day passes. And then in the 6th one, which represents the changing lines here, we're changing from 1 to 6 here. The 6th line says, once the confusion has passed, we are delighted by harmonious cooperation and the feeding of mutual trust.